Joining us now is our good friend, Mike Doc Parker, the voice.
He's not paying attention to us at all, was he?
No, I was not. You guys are going to play a sound here? All right, hit me with the sound. Fire it away.
Keljo comes set. Nelly's 3-2 pitch taken. Strike three called. The Beavers return to Omaha.
I mean, anytime I get to hear Mike Parker's voice, it makes me happy.
Well, Mike probably doesn't like it, so I want Mike to grade his own call.
All right, MEP OSU on Twitter, the voice of Oregon State, all of their athletics, but baseball and heading back to Omaha. Doc, good morning to you. Grade the call.
Hey, good morning. Well, not it's a type of thing where it was such a wild game, guys, that early in the game when the Beavers were up 13-3 and 14-4, I had the luxury of sort of, okay, what should I say at the end? but then, the problem is, and I think any of us in the profession shouldn't ever try to do that and just try to go with what occurs in the moment rather than try to script anything out or, premeditate on it. And so once but when 14-4 became 14-6 and then 14-8 and then 14-10, now I'm worried about, I'm glad I didn't pre-script anything. I may have to rewrite completely.
Yeah,
so in the moment, I was just glad to call that the Beavers are returning to Omaha. And, it's not a great one, but for me, the whole weekend was just a joy to watch. This whole postseason, as you docs know, has been pretty amazing.
Oh, it's a remarkable run here by Canham and Company. They get to Omaha, first time under Mitch. I got to be honest, this is why you're the best and why you're better at your job than I ever would be at mine. I would just want to say, suck on that one, Florida State. Like, I just go real brutal and mean, and I probably wouldn't last very long in your
Those
profession.
thoughts occur to me. The thoughts occur to me, but I tend to reject them. But I'm actually proud of you, Brandon. If you go ahead and go with it, you have more courage than I do in my life.
Well, what Dirt doesn't know, or maybe he does, was I had to debate when to ask you to get on the show because I don't want to text you at 9:30, but I also don't want to text in the fourth inning, even though they scored all the runs so early. So I'm kind of waiting until about, I think it was 8th or 7th, and I'm like,
You don't want to jinx anything.
I didn't want to jinx
because he
it.
texted me. He said, "I'll ask Doc to come on if they win," and then they go up 7-2, and I'm like, "Well, are we going to ask him? This thing's looking pretty good in my eyes," but I'm also not emotionally tied to it like that. Like, when you look at the weekend as a whole, Doc, this has been a thing now. Can he get back to Omaha? Will he live up to the shadow of Casey and all that nonsense that a very small minority in the fan base have done? Because the guy's done nothing but win. He just hasn't quite won at the highest level yet. They punched their ticket first time since 2018, I believe, that they're going back to Omaha. Just kind of encapsulate the entire weekend from the comeback to Friday, the pitcher's duel on Saturday, and then just home run and runs bonanza last night.
It was the last two weekends, guys, have just been an example of a couple of things. One, the grit for the team. That's true. Built through 24,000 miles of travel, all the games away from Corvallis, I think helped prepare them for a moment to take advantage of the reward of getting to be at home for all of those miles logged and the difficult challenges on the road. So to have a decisive winner-take-all on Monday against USC to settle the Corvallis Regional, and they romped in that one 9-0, and to have a decisive Super Regional at home, that, again, they worked so hard to earn that opportunity. Though I think the site, Goss, being at home gave the team just a tremendous lift, like, hey, we've got this, Goss will get them, we'll get them, and we're going to find our way through. But to get to those decisive games, as you've alluded to, took a lot of work. And I give Mitch credit for keeping the team and the guys up the entire year. And Brandon, what you alluded to, the shadow of the great Pat Casey who built the program, Mitch was a big part of it as a player, going to Omaha 3 straight years and winning 2 national championships. But you're right. I do think you said it's a faction of the fan base, and every fan base has a cadre or a faction that. And I don't think it's out of malice. I don't think it's out of ill will. I think it's just and sometimes it's out of just such a deep love and affection for the place that, how can we walk that guy in 4 pitches? And I feel that way sometimes as a broadcaster. I'm up 13-3, and Segura falls behind 2-0, and I'm just bemoaning my future. Oh my gosh, it's 2-0. So I understand the fans that look at things that way and then will, hold Mitch or Rich Dorman or whoever. Well, we should have won that game because of this, that, or the other. what the last couple of weeks have shown is just how difficult baseball is and the amazing variety that the game presents. And as you said, I mean, the comeback for the ages on Friday, just one good inning, really, offensively in that game. One good inning. But the pitching had been good enough to give them a shot going to the bottom of the ninth, and they score 3 against all odds. They really did. That was one of the more amazing things I've ever seen. Then they get just stymied, shut down by great Florida State pitching on Saturday. And yesterday, it looked like, I mean, the buntapalooza they had against USC that Mitch called it on Monday when they bunted 4 times in an inning, that turned into, just a home run derby, the home run palooza with 5 of them and a 14-4 lead after 4 innings. So I think I felt in answering your text, I did so before the game was over, didn't I, Brandon?
Mm-hmm.
I do think you could check the timeline, and I'm sure all of these things will be subpoenaed at some point, and we'll all have to be held accountable. But when did you send the text? What did what did I know, and when did I know it? Well, I sent you the text, I think, while the Beavers were still trying to close the deal, didn't I?
Correctamundo. It was the 8th inning. I was like, this is
He had
ballsy.
confidence. Never a doubt. Never a doubt.
No. I have a 60 seconds to kind of send those texts out during broadcast breaks on the network. And so I worried, though, when I said, hey, Doc, pick the time, because you said either 8 or 8:15. I said, I'm good to go either way. But after I hit send and then I saw a couple of runs score, I thought it was my fault by agreeing to come on your show, because I didn't give you any caveat, like only if they win, Brandon, only if they win.
I should have put that in the question. Only if they win, Doc, can we get you on at 8 or 8:15? Can I ask you baseball question? I don't notice these things quite as much as you would on being in the day-to-day and traveling and calling these games for the team. But in what ways are they different with Mitch versus when Pat was the coach?
I would say I think Mitch is considerably younger, yesterday than Pat was at the end of his run. Mm-hmm. And I do think, I think that manifests itself in some of the energy on the long bus rides, and Mitch will get involved sometimes in the choice of music that everybody listens to, kind of has a no phones, cell phone policy. Now, Pat Casey's brother, Chris, at George Fox, had kind of, as you guys probably remember, I mean, he wouldn't let the guys have phones at all on bus trips and playing football there when he was coaching, and it was written about and talked about, and we talked to Chris about that. Pat was kind of coming at the end of all of that in his career, the beginnings of people just constantly on devices and social media and all of that. But Mitch is just I think I don't want to players coach. I'm not sure if that's the right term to use. I think he's a little bit more, he's got on the exterior, certainly more on a moment-to-moment basis, laughing with the guys, joking around with them around the batting cage. In the hotel. Mm-hmm. Relatable is a good word for it, Doc. Mm-hmm. Pat Casey had such an aura about him. Guys loved him and respected him, but he was a tough son of a gun. Mitch can be that way, too, when he needs to be. And again, that's why I give a great deal of credit to the way he kept the team through the ups and downs and that 4-game losing streak against Oregon. There were moments and times where I think a lot of our fans, and I think it even ran through my mind, could that 4-game stretch cost the Beavers everything they've been working on? The national seed, even hosting a home regional, how would they respond to it? Well, Mitch responded as he always does. He's a great person, figure, mentor to these guys, but has a bit. I think a bit more of maybe an understanding of where they are in their youthful ways and trying to deal with all of this stuff. So they're both great people and men and leaders of men. Pat Casey is the most competitive person I've ever been around in my life, and I always learn something when I'm with him. Just a quick telephone conversation. We've had several here of late during this postseason, and I just come away going, man, that guy's good. He's good at everything he does. And Mitch Canham gives me similar feelings, but how would I put this? Maybe in a less profound sort of way, but when you come away from Mitch and you watch Mitch interact with his players, you see, now there's a guy that gets it, and there's somebody that's deeply respected and loved by his players too, in a different kind of way they're both great coaches and great people I've had the honor of working with, and it is a little different. It's a little looser, I would say, and maybe with the music and the rambunctiousness getting on and off a bus and all of that than maybe some of the things I remember in the Casey era. But I'm honored to have been able to work with both guys.
Yeah, now he's going to the Omaha for the first time. You've been to Omaha a number of times, Doc. We're talking with Mike Parker, a longtime voice of Oregon State athletics. A lot of trips to Omaha for you over the years, so I'll ask. I've never been to the new stadium, but I have been to Rosenblatt, or I did go to Rosenblatt.
Mm-hmm.
Do you miss old Rosenblatt? Are you one of those guys? See that a lot when this Omaha stuff comes up. And what's the one thing that's on your list every time you go to Omaha? Do you got one thing that you got to do or one place you got to go?
It's a good question, and you know me. I mean, I'm the newest school cutting edge guy ever, so I have no nostalgia in me whatsoever for Fenway Park or Shibe Park, or which became Connie Mack, or for the days of the old professor and Casey Stengel. I know nothing about that stuff, nor do I care. I'm all about the here and now and the present. So this whole nostalgia for Rosenblatt thing, no, believe me, I loved that place. I loved Rosenblatt Stadium, the feel, the smells as you walked in. I mean, you knew you were at Rosenblatt. The new ballpark is magnificent. It was TD Ameritrade the last time I was there. It's Charles Schwab now. And I love that place, too. So I've had 3 and 3. 3 at Rosenblatt, 5, 6, and 7, 13, 17, and 18 in the new ballpark. And I still hurt over 13 when Danny Hayes pummeled the ball that their local columnist said, had Hayes hit that ball in Rosenblatt against Mississippi State, it would have ended up in the gorilla pen at the zoo across the street. So I sort of held TD Ameritrade. I was angry with the ballpark that first trip back there in 2013 because it wasn't hitter-friendly enough. I love good pitching. I love good defense. I love a 3-2 ball game. Matt Boyd beat Indiana there 1-0 in the College World Series in 2013, and it was a thrilling game at 1-0. But they've tailored things a little bit more, fixed some things there, and it plays to me a little bit more legitimately than it did early. So it's a beautiful, clean, new, bright, wonderful ballpark. But those memories in Rosenblatt and the Henry Dorley Zoo, literally right across the street, my kids grew up in that zoo and in that ballpark. My 2 daughters. I mean, those family trips, 5, 6, and 7 guys, are among the best times for the Parker family ever to enjoy Beaver athletics and Beaver baseball in that venue. My wife and kids, and I would go when I had opportunity, would spend the entire day they bought a year-long membership when we'd go back there because they went just about every day, so it was cheaper to buy a year-long membership. And they did that 3 straight years and would spend all day at the zoo, and ball game come over to the ballpark and watch the Beavers in those memorable days. So I have great memories of both places, and I'm looking forward to making a few more this weekend and next in Omaha.
It's the last one I got for you, Doc. That might be also the most random membership of anybody in America. Is guy living in Corvallis, membership at an Omaha, Nebraska zoo. Most right. Random.
It's a great zoo, by the way. My grandparents, I used to go there all the time with them. Whenever we go back to Omaha to visit them, it's an underrated, really good zoo.
Yes, it is.
So the bracket has shaken out very interestingly. Obviously, Arkansas is going back. They're a 3 seed. They look like a wagon. They look like they're very hungry to get their College World Series that they haven't. Carolina loses. Vandy's out. Like, you've had 2 seed Texas gone. You've got some Cinderella stories mixed in with some, oh, my God, how is UCLA doing this? They were so bad last year. How do you like the bracket for Oregon State as they get ready to go to Omaha? I know we wait for Duke and Murray State, but just the teams that are in Omaha punch the ticket. How are we feeling about Oregon State going into it?
I haven't done much on it yet, other than to know it's Louisville and then an opportunity against either Coastal Carolina or Arizona. Arizona is one of those Cinderella stories and a familiar opponent to Oregon State. In that sense, I think it's shaken out reasonably well, and the Beavers were one of the 8 national seeds that managed to survive. I was stunned that Arizona, to me, of all the results, Arizona beating North Carolina and Chapel Hill after losing 18-2 in the opener is one of the more astonishing turnarounds in this postseason. But, I think there's a path there, and the Beaver frontline starting pitching. Now, the final score yesterday, 14-10. Let's go. No, the pitching was good, and the Beavers have good pitching. Yesterday, both offenses really came to life, and the Beavers had more of it. than Florida State, which, by the way, is really good. That they pitched extremely well. I'm not sure what kind of pitching. I haven't even gotten into Louisville yet, or what Coastal and Arizona and the teams on the other side. I'm not there yet, guys. But I think there's a path here, and wouldn't it be something? What if Arkansas and Oregon State would end up playing for it again? I'm not sure Razorback fans would be too keen on that.
A little PTSD for those Razorbacks down
Right.
there in Arkansas. I enjoyed this text. We'll let you go on this. Somebody texted in. Hearing Mike Parker talk always puts a smile on my face. He could be telling me an asteroid is hurling towards the Earth, ending humanity, and I would still have a grin on my face. Well, that asteroid's not on the way, but we have grins on our face. Mike Parker, I'm sure you're grinning down in Corvallis. Hopefully you got a little bit of sleep last night. Enjoy another trip to Omaha, Doc. We always appreciate the time. Have fun.
Thanks. Hey, guys, and please send that text to a Hollywood producer the next time they make a film about the asteroid coming. And there have been quite a few of them. I'd love to get a part just to calm the people of the world. If I have that effect, I think they ought to put that in a movie. Hey, guys, it's great talking to you. Thanks for having me on. Love you guys. Keep up the good work, and let's go Bees in Omaha. Thanks.
There you go. Mike Doc Parker.
Consummate pro right there.
He's the best.
Oh, my
we love
God.
chatting with him, and they're heading back to Omaha. You ever contemplate going to one of these bad boys?
I actually was thinking about it. You know me. I don't watch all these games, but like when they're on and it's the Supers, I do like start to kind of get a little into it. And I was
take some Jello
contemplating.
shots in Omaha.
I was like, I haven't been to Omaha. I've never seen it live.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool to go back.
We drove by the stadium when we were there for the football
I
game.
remember it, and I just kept thinking, wish I would have gone in one of those games. I also don't want to go, and the one time I go is the year they don't win.
Yeah, you always got that fear because there's nothing worse than spending money to travel to watch your team play and then they lose in heartbreaking fashion, and then you got the return
it's
flight.
a bit of a
and then
problem.
it's a whole,
Yeah.
I've experienced a handful of those over the years, and
Yep.
they're not enjoyable. The win's much more enjoyable. But Oregon State heading back to Omaha and looking for their first championship since 2018 was the last one,
2018,
right?
yeah.
Last time they were there in Omaha, it's the last time they won it. Mike Doc Parker, great friend of the program.